Welcome to the Reckoning podcast, where we stoke a campfire, gather around, and have real-life conversations with old friends, new friends, professionals, and just shoot the shit. Reckoning all things from hunting, outdoors, beauty, entrepreneurship, relationships, life, and more. It's all just a reckoning. I today want to have a solo episode, just you and me shooting the shit like I would with my girlfriends and what's coming across my feed right now and things that I'm interested in, what I'm looking into even further than I have over the last, 10-ish years. And that is living a non-toxic lifestyle. This has been something that has been important to me. And I think it really encompasses reckoning and the audience because as hunters, we care so much about our harvest, where our meat comes from, and how we also are preparing that. But I think a lot of times we're not thinking about the environment in which we're bringing it into and maybe the toxic products we're then using to cook said meat on, or products used to help in that process. Things like your cutting boards, your utensils, the list could go on and on. However, I know that this can be extremely overwhelming and sometimes it's just easier to put your head in the sand than to even know where to start. But I wanted to be able to have this conversation with you and be able to just kind of give you, a lot of you may see this all over line and be like, I just don't quite understand why. What is wrong with these products and what does it actually affect? Is it really that important? And then two, if it is something that you've been seeing and you're just feeling completely overwhelmed, which I totally understand when you can go down that rabbit hole, some easy things to do to slowly start going through and auditing your house, going through cleaning things out. And let me tell you, I have done this so slowly over time and in sections almost okay, go through my kitchen, or if we run out of something, do that. And I'll explain all that in this episode. I want it to be super digestible so that you know how to start, maybe something that is important to you, that's not so important to you, because this is like our homes. I think it's so important to take care of ourselves and our homes because aside from our jobs, that's where we spend the most time. So I just think it makes the most sense to have our homes be toxin free as possible. I mean, if you think about it, there's toxin everywhere. Think how good you feel too when you're out in the mountains, out away from all the different diffusers, soaps, laundry detergents. The air quality is obviously so much better. And so I think if we can make our home our little sanctuary and be able to bring that into the house, then that is the way to go. Because like I said, it's from toxins can be in things like your cooking utensils, pans, dish soap, laundry detergent, commonly used air fresheners, candles, even our favorite beauty products, which, right? Knife to the heart. I'm just going to give you a brief breakdown in which I can, because I also want you to be given the knowledge and facts that I have gathered over the years of doing this. And then I'm going to give you a brief breakdown on facts and then how to start, why you should start. And then I just want to make this as least daunting as possible because it can feel like a lot. Sometimes, like I was talking to Kayla last week on the episode, how I have to find and pull myself back and not be in the rabbit hole because I spiral every once in a while too about oh my gosh, and this, what? I'll say this with saying that is I am not perfect. And I know this is kind of an in moderation scenario. It's simply impossible to eliminate our exposure to every single harmful substance. And honestly, stressing out about it is going to do more harm than good. So, like I said, I think find and pick what's important to you and why it's important to you and slowly go through and do that. Because I mean, Cody even sent me a reel with information in regards to why Botox is toxic. I know this. It literally has the word tox in Botox. And I was like, listen, I'll cut out something else. I'm not cutting out my Botox. And if you decide to cut out Botox, more power to you. But that's not for this girl because it's not for me. I promise. RBF has done a number after 35 years. So let's talk about why it's important. Okay. And now if you're watching this on YouTube, we got sun flares happening, but I'm not moving. So we'll call it cinematic. Why these are important. So everything down to like our water, our tap water is on average has 250 pollutants in it and encompasses everything from arsenic to lead to prescription drugs and obviously like agricultural toxins. And Cody laid pipe for a really long time. And I remember him telling me how absolutely disgusting our water lines are and the pipes that the water comes out of. He is like, no, there's no way in fucking hell I'm drinking water out of what I've seen our water pipes go through. So obviously, like, it affects our water. There's also concerns with the cosmetic industry. Our beauty products have hormone disruptors, impact fertility. These are like why this is important to me, okay? These are things that the more I've done research on it and found that they're finding that these toxins across the board can lead to organ damage, weaken the immune system, trigger allergies or asthma, induce reproductive issues, cause birth defects, and even cancerous growths in our body. I think too, if you have met somebody that's gone through like fertility treatments, they'll tell you that one of the first things they do is have you go through and like go through all your stuff and make sure it's non-toxic and clean down to like your beauty products. And I think that in itself goes to show how toxic these can be. There's also mounting evidence that shows a rise in conditions such as ADHD, autism, childhood cancer, diabetes, and obesity. And these are not just like genetic attributes, they are linked to exposed toxic chemicals. So if you're not worried even about yourself, I think that alone for your family and those around you is important. And we hear the argument all the time like, well, I grew up on it and I'm fine. I'm doing this. The world and what they put in stuff is completely different, also. Or, two, some of this has been in place and now we're starting to see those side effects within the elderly community, like the rise of things like Alzheimer's and cancer. After spending months on the mountain, hunting, soaking up all that natural sunlight, the days are now getting shorter and colder. I don't even have to tell you this. I personally have experienced that this time of year affects my vitamin D levels to be low, which impacts things like my mood and energy levels, just to name two things. I'm preparing to keep my vitamin D levels where they should be with the help of Mountain Op's vitamin D3 plus K2 gummies. These are delicious strawberry gummies that are a convenient way to help you get more vitamin D intake every day. Adding this to my daily routine has helped me conquer my days, whether I'm on the mountain, in the gym, working, or being a spouse and parent. You can get your Mountain Ops vitamin D3 plus K2 gummies at mountainops.com today. A few of our favorite other things in the cooler months that we love from Mountain Ops are their down jackets, their merino wool collections, their hoodies, the Slumber cider and salted caramel drinks. I love sipping on a warm drink in the winter. And you know, we love our deep, restful, rejuvenating sleep. Hydration is also super important in the wintertime too. So be sure to check out their pineapple hydrate. It's the one back there. This is their new flavor and it seriously tastes like a Dole Whip. My kids love this hydrate. And because I just looked back there and I realized what else I have back there, Ignite. Need I say more? Energy and focus. To shop our favorites and help donate a meal to a child in need, go to mountainops.com and use our code BRITT, that's BRITT, for 20% off. Again, that's mountainops.com and use our code BRITT, BRITT, for 20% off. Many toxic chemicals, such as pesticides, artificial colors, don't get me started on those, have been linked to the increased risk of cancer. And these substances can damage DNA. So that's interesting. Endocrine disruptors, you're going to hear this a lot because the endocrine is something that's very important to me. I want to make sure that mine and my family's is running at the best that they can. So disruptors for that are the phthalates and the bisphenols are known as endocrine disruptors. I'll put that below. They mimic and interfere with hormones in our bodies, leading to hormonal imbalance. And these can cause a lot of problems with the reproductive systems, developmental issues for our children, and hormonal disorders. So, what your endocrine system is, because when I was talking to Cody about this, he's like, what is your endocrine system? It is a network of glands throughout your body that produces hormones. And it basically is like chemical messengers to regulate various bodily functions like growth, mood, reproduction, response to stress. But to give you an idea, because this was helpful for him and I. The major endocrine glands include the pituitary gland, the thyroid gland, the parathyroid gland, the adrenal glands, the pancreas, ovaries, and testes. So, I mean, that's a large part of your body. Also, these toxic products and pesticides, flame retardants have been associated with neurodevelopment disorders and cognitive impairments, particularly in children. So, exposed to these chemicals during the critical stages of brain development can lead to learning disabilities, attention deficits, and reduced IQ. And then obviously you've got your respiratory issues through cleaning agents and air fresheners. And these, I think that's pretty self explanatory, irritate the respiratory system, causing things like asthma and coughing. You'll find that I mentioned toxic chemicals and heavy metals, and these interrupt things with your organs and cause organ damage. And then I've mentioned the reproductive system and fertility problems. They've also been known to cause weakness in your immune system. So, especially in those that are more susceptible to infections and diseases, this is a really big problem. And again, something that's very important to me. And then you've got allergies and sensitivities. Hi, that's your girl. I'm sure a lot of you have found something that just like irritates your skin or gives you allergies. Obviously, that's something. And then you've got your metabolic disorders, which is pretty damn obvious. And then, when it comes down to it, like these toxins impact our environment. I even saw an interesting study where there was cases showing that there was endocrine disruptors for wildlife through these different toxic chemicals, which makes sense. So why I decided to start were obviously like the list above of everything that I said. But I think like most people, when you have kids, you start to assess and look at things so differently. And with Cooper, that really started, and that was more like with my food and what we were putting into our bodies, and the fact that we had deer in the freezer. And like I said, we were so mindful about consuming good whole foods and being mindful of where our food was taken from. And then as time went on and like more information started coming out about all this, I have endometriosis, and some of these where it's linked to your endocrine system and your hormone disruptors. I started kind of slowly going through and learning more about this. And then I will say, it's been a slow process. Like learning about candles, which I'll get into, has been something that I've noticed has helped my migraines immensely. And then also just being more mindful about plastics as time has gone on. But I really think it kind of started for me with food, which I think you see a pattern of that of. And then to come like as Cody and I have gotten older and just looking into things and making sure that our thyroid is working like it's supposed to, and kind of looking at like, okay, what kind of toxins are happening there and why? And then Cody's mentioned it before, but he had testicular cancer in his 20s. And so it's like, we hear the word cancer. How best can we try and know that we have done everything in our power to take care of ourselves with that? And then I would think a real big spike in this, and where you have probably noticed it, is over this last year. And this is a large part just due to the information that's been coming out and it being more accessible, I think. But with that, I'm grateful for that part. But after River's accident, where he was severely burned and received skin grafts and went through all that, burns are a lifelong thing. And burns, going through something traumatic like that with his body and his burns, they're considering burns a chronic disease because of all the life altering things that happen during the burn process and the healing process. And I just wanted to make sure that like we could give him the best care possible, and his endocrine system was already disrupted in the midst of trying to heal his body and his skin. Why would I want to add anything more to that? He doesn't need it more disrupted. How do we heal him the best way possible and give him the best health and products around him? So that's really where this comes from, is honestly for my boys. Like I'm like, listen, this episode, we're 11 minutes in or whatever we're at. I have a feeling after I put this together and wrapped stuff up on it this morning, putting the brief together, I was like, hit angry mom mode. So if you're an angry mom and you're rallying, it just fucking pisses me off is what it does. Like most parents, I'll speak for all of us. So that's really what it is like making sure that My boys don't have to get too exposed to that in the ways that I know how to help in the ways that I can. And I know so many of you feel this way. Like I said, we're so mindful of, I think this audience is so mindful of the food that they're eating and taking care of their bodies through exercise and nutrition. And now it's like, okay, now let's add to that. I think we're all ready to add to that. And these are small changes that can make a huge difference. So I want to go through and give you tips. I broke these up into sections, and this could be a forever long podcast. So I'm going to try and make this the basics, if you will, where I started, where I think it's simple to start with. And I want you to know this, go through and do it one by one, because our budget didn't allow for me just to go through and throw it all out and go buy all new. It was one by one I would get stuff, or as I would run out of things. So I want you to know that, because I think so many times, one, we can feel fear mongered. That's not the point of this podcast. And two, it's like daunting and overwhelming and like, well, I can't do that. Like, I can't just go throw stuff away like I see these big influencers doing. You don't have to do that. So I broke it up into kitchen, and then I have products, just all kinds of sorts of different products, like cleaning products and beauty products. And then also I go through and I talk about some food things that I like to avoid as well, which is probably not going to be any shock there. Come on, Bobby. So, kitchen. The first thing that I would suggest, and if you've been married long enough too, like, let's be honest, it's probably time to upgrade this anyways. I was holding on to my pans way too long, but this would be switching your pans. Go through and get rid of all of your non-stick shit. No, get rid of Teflon. And I'll tell you too, you probably have more pans than you really need. Declutter a little bit. This is one where you probably could just get rid of a whole bunch of shit, honestly. So go through and get rid of the non-stick shit. I know it's convenient. I know it's easy, but it is not good for you. Right now, look up Teflon. I'm going to let you sit and do some of your own research too. I will put in here some information that I just feel like is important, but I want you to do your own research and decide for yourself. So get rid of the non-stick shit. And here is what I would replace it with: cast iron. They knew what they were doing all along. Like I said, just buy one pan at a time as you need. And I found too, getting rid of a whole bunch of my stuff, it truly showed me how many pans I need and what kind of pans I need. Do I need a really large skillet? I would get a really large skillet and then maybe one to like make eggs. And then also you could get a stainless steel pan. We also have one of these. A lot of people's complaints with all this, again, is going to nonstick. Here's the deal. You need to, I didn't plan on telling you all that. It's fine. I'm here to help you. What up, friend? You need to heat up the pan. Let the pan get hot. So get it on medium heat, let it warm up a few minutes. Then you'll put in your butter or your grease and your ghee, your tallow, whatever you're cooking with. You'll put that in there, coat it, get a nice coating on there. Don't be afraid of this fat, guys. And then you'll find it's nonstick. It's what they did before they came out with Teflon. The only Teflon we want around here is some Teflon titties to be strong enough to do all this shit, okay? That's the only Teflon we have around here. Next thing you're going to do, I was going to tell you on the stainless steel pans and for your utensils, when looking for stainless steel, nickel oftentimes can be found with stainless steel. So you want to look at your pan. It'll tell you on there if it has any nickel. Nickel is a neurotoxin, so you don't want a lot of that, just FYI. And when you're looking at your utensils, it'll say on there like 18/0 or 18/10. The last number is the nickel content. So you want that ideally at a 0 or as close to. You definitely don't want it up by 18. So, hot tip. That leads me into cooking utensils. You will want to use metal or wood. Those are your go-to. Again, simple finds, going back to the basics. Look for the nickel content. I really love wood, and then obviously metal for like your spatulas. Throw out all cooking utensils. Throw all your plastic. Again, if you've been married a while, you have too many kitchen utensils, and most of them are probably plastic, and they're probably black plastic. You want to avoid black plastic. I looked into this because I was like, well, why black? Like, I love black. But also, like, what's up? Everyone had this vendetta against black, and I was curious what it was. Black kitchen utensils are recycled from electronics, and these are treated with flame retardants. So then when you're heating it up and cooking it in, you're getting the microplastics, and then they're also showing cases where this flame retardant is transferring into the food you eat, and you should not be consuming that. And then you will get metal or wood. Did I already say that? I don't know. Metal or wood. I think metal is a great spatula for obviously like flipping stuff, you know? And then wood's great for stirring. So use that up to your discretion. With the wood, I would say too, make sure go through, see how many cutting boards you have and get rid of the plastic cutting boards because these have microplastics in them. I'm going to give you a little idea of, I'm sure you've heard about microplastics everywhere, but plastics are considered harmful to humans. Studies have shown that they've accumulated in the bodies and potentially causing issues like inflammation, disruption of the endocrine system, and increased risk of certain diseases. I have also seen several doctors speaking in regards to that and saying that as they have gone through and they have found I heard one particular interview where someone had had a heart attack when they went in to clear out the buildup. When they cut into that, there were little tiny pieces of plastic in there as well. And they're saying that, I mean, we've at this point, we all have microplastics in us, and that they're saying that we've got them embedded all the way into like our ovaries, our testicles, just they're everywhere. So microplastics, just think about it like it's not disintegrating, it's just building up. So get rid of the microplastics, and that includes switching things over to glass and getting rid of your plastic tubs and your plastic Tupperware. This is something I've slowly been doing because I don't know about you guys, but somehow, like, where does all the Tupperware go? I have no idea. I feel like you buy a new package, it's gone. So that's one of the switches I want to slowly start doing is getting rid of all the Tupperware because I also heard if you are warming stuff, are you guys ready to put aluminum hat on me already? Don't do it. Don't put a foil hat on me, but also how good is science? I've heard when you warm up anything in the microwave that's in a plastic bowl or a Tupperware that it can shed the lining of the plastic and then get into your food, which makes sense. I don't know where I was going with that. Switch to glass. I have a whole bunch of glass cups. We have mason jars. That switch has been good. It's now just switching over my Tupperware because I don't want containers. I would like glass containers, and then maybe they'll make their way home or wherever they go. I don't know. I kind of feel like containers like just circulate between families too. That's also a possibility. And then I mentioned going off about my foil hat. Don't cook on aluminum foil. And why? Because we've heard this for a while now. And so for us, I'm trying not to cook on aluminum foil when it comes to like baking anything. So baking our fish, baking cookies, whatever that may be. So they've found a relationship between aluminum intake and serious illnesses such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, dialysis, bone disorder, breast cancer. It's a neurotoxin and they're finding that to be the case. There was someone at the gym that I worked out with, and his wife was a neuroscientist basically. And they were going through, I don't know what kind of scientist she was, bear with me. Anyways, she was studying the correlation between smoking your food and Alzheimer's. And I was like, don't do that to me. This reminded me of that just barely, but I was like, what? It's bananas. So anyways, this is where I say you can't spiral, okay? No spiraling. We're not spiraling around here. On this aluminum foil thing, like I said, I'm not baking with it with cookies or dinner on it. I use parchment paper. Unbleached parchment paper is my preferred method. And that's another thing. Just look for unbleached and that on your coffee filters too. Like just the tiniest little changes, guys. But on the aluminum foil, I would be interested if someone has a tip for me because here's the deal. We're still going to make our aluminum foil packets when we're camping because I feel like we're decreasing immensely our aluminum intake, if you will. But we have a Traeger smoker and there's like the drip pan on the bottom. And we've always put aluminum foil over that so that way in between smoking different kind of things and flavors, and obviously it's drip pan, so it's allowing all the grease to drip. That way it's an easy peel off and clean, and It makes it super nice. But I'm curious if anyone has a swap for that. Would love to hear it. Thanks. So aluminum foil. Try and use parchment paper instead. But again, you know, you got to have. What's camping without a hobo packet? So that is kind of in the kitchen. Quick, brief overview. Get rid of your pans, get stainless steel or cast iron. Throw out all your black utensils. Get metal or wood. Get rid of your plastic cutting boards. Get a wood cutting board. I don't know if I followed up with that. Get a wood cutting board. They're easy to clean. It's not that gross. Come off it. And cut back on your aluminum foil use. That is kitchen. Products. Speaking of cleaning things, cleaning supplies are tricky because I will be the first to admit if we need to do wound care or something, I want the shower, the bathroom as sanitized as possible so that there is peace of mind knowing that we're good to go. Sometimes you can't, like, bleach is not good for you, but it smells like you're not going to die. So, cleaning supplies, I'm going to give you a list of a few things that you can look out for. Dangerous chemicals include. Okay, I lied. I'm not going to give you this list. I'm going to put it in the show notes because I'm not going to try and even try to say these words like tricholesin 2-butyloxyphenol and 2 the same word, acetate ammonia quaternary, ammonium. That makes sense. Compounds, formaldehyde phthalates. I might have actually done it. Anyways, so using these kind of things obviously get in the air. My friend Nicole and I were talking about how sometimes when you do a deep clean with like bleaches and stuff, and obviously you've seen like if you mix certain cleaning products, how you're basically poisoning yourself. How like when you have to use bleach for whatever reason, and I understand you don't have to, I don't want the toxic community coming for me. Okay? We're helping each other out. Don't be a douchebag. You can feel it in your chest. For me, I can feel it like it burns everything up into my nostrils and into my brain. Like I immediately feel like I have a bloody nose. And Nicole says that she gets where she like coughs a lot. She can feel it in her lungs. So obviously it's not good. So this is definitely affecting the air quality indoors. Things you can do is you can slowly switch out your cleaning products as you run out of them. That would be my suggestion because it works for a budget unless you're like feeling real gun ho and like, want to haul it all out and throw it in the garbage, then yeah. But reputable companies are places like Branch Basics. This seems like a great one-stop shop. I think I looked online for like $125, which I know sounds like a lot, but I will say with a lot of these clean companies, you are diluting them. So you're actually getting way more for your money. But for $120, you can swap out all your cleaning products. So it's like your dish soap, your dish washing detergent, your laundry detergent, your glass cleaner, your all-purpose cleaner, I think was all of them. And it also comes with the glass bottles and all that. And then it looks like it'll last you a while, if I had to guess. So Branch Basics is a great place to start. Or if you're an Amazon person like me, Molly Suds is on Amazon and they have a wide array of different cleaning products. Another option too is go with the good old all natural. And that is using things like vinegar and baking soda. You'll be amazed what vinegar can do. You can also enhance these with obviously essential oils, or I've done where you put your orange pills inside of the bottle and it gives it a little bit of an orange essence. And you just can't beat cleaning with vinegar on your windows. And then for dish soap, you can use Castle soap. There's tablets on Amazon. A reputable brand again is Truly Free, and they have automatic dish detergent ones. Also, Costco carries Blue Land, and I believe it's also cheaper than actually buying Cascade at Costco. So if you're going to go to Costco and get Cascade, look for Blue Land. They're little tablets, and both Truly and Blue Land have both said to clean as well. I'm going to be honest. The dish tablets is a new one for me where I haven't even thought about like the microplastics that were going into my dish. This is where I was spiraling again. the microplastics going onto our food. This is what my thought process was in all these. Like, if we're consuming it, that's where I'm starting first, meaning like into mouth. That was where I wanted to start first. So, like, kitchen microplastic situation. So I plan on getting one of these. I can keep you guys posted on Instagram which one was good. Both of them had fantastic reviews and saying that they did clean well. So I'm interested to see how that goes. A laundry detergent, the Truly Free laundry detergent. I've been told, and this is another switch that I'm going to be switching to, because we've always used, especially after Riv's accident, we used like a fragrance free of all the dyes and all of that, just for sensitive skin. But I really want to get down even nitty grittier. And the Truly Free laundry detergent, I've heard, works incredible, great on stains. And then it also is got essential oil in it, and they say it smells incredible. So I'm interested to play around with that. I'm waiting to run out of my laundry detergent before I make that switch. But again, I'll keep you posted on that because I will keep it for real. And speaking of laundry, I have laundry to fold after this. That's what I was going to tell you. You can use, instead of dryer sheets, you can use wool balls. I also really like using these because when you wash like your bedding, I feel like it helps kind of punch your bedding to really get it nice and dry and fluffy, if that makes sense. It's always just been I'm like, I like when those are in there. I feel like it gives it a little umph. You could add essential oils onto these if you want. Again, Molly Suds has dryer sheets that I've been told are really fantastic too. The wool balls are nice. I don't have to worry about buying dryer sheets if I don't want to. And then when it comes to something that I think, this is one of those things, like this started for me a few years ago, was learning about deodorants, and again, aluminum in the deodorant. And you've heard me mention the endocrine system a few times. You heard Kayla talk about it. And your glands, from my understanding, you have a gland under your armpits in which you're putting deodorant there. So deodorant was one of the first non-toxic switches for me. Some great deodorants. Again, you can find all these on Amazon. Humble is a fantastic one. It's got really clean ingredients. These next two, I've heard mixed reviews on if they're actually non-toxic or not, but you know what? Do the research for yourself, see if it meets your standards. That's what matters. Salt and Stone, I've heard smells really great. I never did get Salt and Stone. And then I also have the native deodorant in, I don't remember what smell. And then also I've had the Kupari deodorant as well, and I liked that one. I know a lot of people don't like native just because it goes on kind of cakey, if I'm being honest. And I can't remember who I was talking about with this just recently. I honestly have gotten to the point where I don't use deodorant daily. I'll just put this on if we're going to do something major where I know I'm going to be sweating. And I feel like this was a process. Well, actually, that's a lie. I've never been like a huge, I guess that's my humble brag. I've never been a huge deodorant person, but it doesn't mean that I stink. I just have never really needed it. And part of me wonders if like I just trained my body to not. So those are my recommendations. Again, all those are found on Amazon. Things that I want to get. Again, I think I went down a microplastic hole the last time I dove into all this, is getting rid. I want to get a bamboo toothbrush just because, again, why has this never occurred to me? All those little plastic bristles inside of my mouth. I would like to try that and see if it's something that I feel like is efficient and actually works. I'll keep you posted if I do. And then also switching out toothpaste to a non-toxic toothpaste. If you guys have recommendations on a toothpaste you love, I've seen so many mixed reviews on toothpaste that I don't currently. I have a few in my cart and I want to go through and just kind of like read and see what's going to fit like my bill for a toothpaste. I can keep you posted when I do, but if you guys have recommendations on a non-toxic toothpaste, I would love to hear that. And then also for my girls, like a lip oil. If you think about it, we're putting lipsticks and oils onto our lips, and there's some study that shows how much we consume, and it is bananas. And, you know, I love like a good lip liner and lipstick. So there is a lip oil that's called Well People Lush Lip Tinted Oil. And I'm going to link all these on Amazon so that you can find them at any mentions. But just a high quality lip oil that you don't have to feel bad about putting on your lips and letting all the other people kiss off your lips. And for the girls too, switching to things, this was another early on switch for me. After I had Rivers, I ended up switching to a menstrual disc or a menstrual cup. And now they have cotton tampons. It is crazy to me, the toxins that are in our tampons that they're allowing us to put in our bodies. So those are simple switches. I went for the menstrual. I now like the menstrual cup. And that's just because I like the efficiency of it. It makes it easy. And I felt like it was the best choice for myself. And then products, I mentioned candles earlier and noticing a huge difference with candles and my migraines. I am someone who is very sensitive to getting migraines, and I do feel like there has been many changes in my lifestyle and in my diet that have made a big difference in the migraines. And one of those, I don't know that I necessarily can pinpoint it to one thing, but I will say I have noticed candles. When I have, for whatever reason, like found a random candle that I still have from a long time ago and lit it and it doesn't meet these requirements, I can almost count on me getting a major headache or a migraine the next day. Um, and same goes for like overly use of like the Febreze plugins, you know? So, what to look for in candles, because again, this is a simple swap. If you are noticing migraines, maybe, or headaches or asthma, that was another thing, is just feeling like we got coughs often. I would look for making sure that they don't have additives like the phthalates. Again, I'll put it in the description because I probably said that wrong, or lead. And then I try and look for 100. This is the only time you'll hear me say this. 100% plant-based waxes. That's a lie. If we can build a tallow, there's probably a tallow candle of some sort somewhere. So maybe not always, but so far, listen, so far, you want to look for something like soy, beeswax, or coconut. I don't feel like beeswax is plant-based. I retract the plant-based. Look for something like soy, beeswax, or coconut. Again, my guess is someone out there is making a beef tallow candle. That'll be the next hot thing. And then make sure that it's essential oil based or certified non-toxic synthetic fragrance, which I think is probably tricky to find. Again, honestly, it's probably fragranced with essential oils. If you have learned nothing in this, like if it has fragrance in it, like Kayla said, you know. And then here's the other part of this. You want to make sure that the base of it's good. So soy, beeswax, coconut, and then its fragrance is done with essential oils. And then you want to make sure that the wicks are made from cotton is best, hemp or wood. So those little wood burning sticks, wood burning candles, the wood in them's great, just depending on which one you're buying. Got to make sure that wax. I really, really think that the wax for me and the fragrance in which was used was causing a big problem with my migraines. And then I think with that, the wick in which was used was causing problems with my asthma. So candles. And if you're like, I don't know where to find those, look on Amazon. Walmart does have a few that I like. Two that I've been able to find, they're actually not that bad priced either. They're like $12, which isn't bad, and it's for a big candle. And the other option is either have a wick diffuser, what do you call those? The wood wick diffusers, or you can do an oil diffuser, or one of my favorite things to do is to make a simmer pot on the stove. So I could go on about a recipe for a simmer pot. Look up your favorite simmer pot, but it's easy. Water, your favorite fruits, I like citrus in there, some cloves, some whatever, vanilla, and then simmer it and your house smells delish and it's all natural. Just because the weather is getting colder doesn't mean you shouldn't be thinking about upgrading your cooler. We still have plenty of adventures to take, food to keep cold while you're going on them, and you want to keep them from getting soggy. There's nothing worse than reaching in for like your snack and the paper is wet and soggy or your cheese is soggy. Plus, you want to be able to keep those drinks cold, keep those mountains blue and the water refreshing after that hike. Not to mention, be able to keep your meat cold on the way to the butcher or taking it home. So where are you going to put all that? In a cooler that's ultra lightweight? Are you going to be able to keep those drinks cold, those mountains blue, and your food organized? Are you going to be able to keep those snacks easily accessible? How about knowing that your cooler can float upright every time? No need to panic on the duck boat anymore. Rugged Road coolers offer all this. And they have new sizing. They have the smaller V25. This can hold up to 25 12-ounce cans. It's kind of like a cool, bigger version of a lunch pill, but it still has all of our favorite features of the Rugged Road, the flip top and the snack rack. Plus, now they have the big daddy of them all, the 115. This sucker will hold some meat, and we're excited ours is currently on its way. To get your new cooler, go to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use our code LONG, that's LONG, for 10% off your next cooler. Tell them we sent you by going to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use our code LONG again for 10% off your next order. Okay, food. I'm going to start with a disclaimer. I'm probably going to go off for a minute on some food stuff because it's recently just really pissing me off. And I really do hope that RFK Jr. can make a difference in this kind of stuff because it's just fucking asinine to me that it's even gotten to this point. Okay, rant over, I think. So, food. I think everyone's heard it 1,000 times, especially if you've listened to this podcast before. Just eating whole foods is the most simple way to make sure that you're living a clean, non-toxic lifestyle. Like, that is easy enough. So, extra points for us hunters for knowing that we are getting the best meat out there and where our food comes from. And then these are things that I like to look for when it comes to buying things to eat that I have not harvested or bought from, a farmer itself. So, obviously, if it is packaged, I am looking for, and you probably were going to guess this, high fructose corn syrup. I think a lot of people on these, I wanted to explain these because I know even just talking to family members or even just people in passing, they've heard it over and over again. No high fructose corn syrup, no high fructose corn syrup. That is a mouthful to say twice, by the way. But like they don't know why. So if not, I'm going to give you kind of like a brief overview as why, because I do think it's important to know why to be able to help you make the decision. So it's considered bad for you because it's composed of fructose, go figure, which metabolizes differently than other sugars. So leads to increase of liver fat accumulation, decreased insulin sensitivity. It causes a higher risk for developing metabolic disease, such as obesity, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. And then also it just leads to fat buildup on other organs too. The other thing with it is it increases calorie intake. I think this is a very interesting part of it. Due to the high sugar content in consuming foods with high fructose corn syrup, this is kind of what I've gathered over all my different research. It contributes to the excessive calorie intake, and which that leads to potential weight gain. They have results showing that fructose prompts an increased food intake and it lowers one's resting energy metabolism. And so that is basically just like an animal getting ready for hibernation. There's research showing, and it just makes sense if you've been out in the wild long enough to know, bears consume a lot of fructose enriched foods to prepare for hibernation. So in the fall, you'll see bears eating large amounts of fruits, especially berries, to store fructose for hibernation. The fructose, and I looked up kind of like, okay, now give me the science of the bear going into it and why they eat that. It says the fructose is not used for energy like glucose, but instead activates a survival switch. So it's just bananas to me if you think about the fact that like they're seeing that it's causing the same thing to happen. Like it's causing you to crave more. Here's some food for thought on that. RJ Reynolds, a tobacco company, was involved in the production of high fructose corn syrup. And here's what it said on revitalizemetabolichealth.com. In regards to that, it said after regulations were put into place on tobacco products and decreased their sales, the tobacco companies invested heavily in the food industry and deployed their tactics to make food irresistible. As experts in creating addictive tobacco products, they use the same strategies to create addictive food products. In place of nicotine, the addictive snare in processed foods is high fructose corn syrup. So Just going to leave you with that. What do I look for instead? A lot of amazing companies use things like honey, coconut sugar, maple syrup, and dates to sweeten those. And that is what you can use too, just in your everyday baking and cooking. Those are my favorite ways to sweeten things. So, also, high fructose corn syrup just doesn't need to be added into there. Like, we'd be so much better off with just like a regular cane sugar. So I just think that's interesting. I know a lot of people, again, hear so many times like, why is it so, or that it is so bad, but they want to know why. And when you look at the history of high fructose corn syrup, like, it didn't exist until the tobacco company got involved in our foods. So bananas, it just like pisses you. And that is why too, like, now that you have this information and next time you eat something and you find yourself just like wanting more, wanting more, wanting more, look on the back of that and see if there's high fructose corn syrup on that. I think it'll be very eye-opening, and it is pretty crazy. The next rant I'm about to go on, and something you've heard about, I think, recently over this last year, is seed oils. And this is something that I've really started to take serious over the last, I would say, 6 months, especially. I would say, like, the last year I've been aware of it. In the last 6 months, I have been like, holy shit. Seed oils are highly processed. This is why they're bad. So, what happens is industrial manufacturers use high temperatures and mechanical pressure to create chemical deodorizers and petroleum based solvents to extract oil seeds. This effectively strips the oil of nutrients and oxidants and creates harmful trans fats. I have a bone to pick with everyone involved in this too. So, what's interesting about this is industrial manufacturers add synthetic chemicals to this in efforts to help with a stable shelf life. They're known carcinogenics that have been banned by Europe, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. But, you know, it's fine. What happens to, and I found this very interesting when I was looking into it, after the seeds have been cracked, cooked, and dried, they are bathed in hexane. And hopefully, again, I'm saying that right, which extracts the oil. Hexane is made from crude oil. And when inhaled, it can cause numbness in the hands and feet. But yet we're, bathing these seeds in this crude oil. That's fine. So, what can happen when you consume large quantities of seed oil? It creates an imbalance of antioxidants in your body, and then high concentrates of free radicals in the body causes cellular damage, leads to debilitating diseases like cancer, diabetes, Parkinson's disease, cardiovascular diseases. You got cataracts, asthma's in there, hypertension, arthritis, and again, Alzheimer's disease. Also, seed oils negatively infect fertility in both men and women. And then what are these seed oils to look for is kind of, I'm sure, what you're curious about. It's called the Hateful Eight if you've seen them around. Canola oil, which there's like no such thing as a canola plant. Corn oil, cottonseed, soybean, sunflower, safflower, grapeseed, and rice bran oils. There's studies to show that they cause inflammation and disease with these Hateful Eight. However, if I found it so interesting when I started looking into all this, because I felt like I could see the mainstream media, the influence of pharmaceutical companies almost, and or the food industry, because I really had to dig. The first articles I was seeing were all these different articles about how, like, the industry's stance was why we should be eating these. And once you start looking into this, you see that it really was like cardiologists trying to get people to have what they call good healthy fats, because these oils, the seed oils, are higher in omega-6. And so their stance was it has higher amounts of omega-6 fatty acids, more than avocado oil and olive oil. And this helps reduces bad cholesterol, lowering the risk for heart disease and strokes. I hope you're coming along this journey with me. I think you understand where, as we've seen over the last few years, why maybe that could be an issue in itself. And then obviously I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. They're high in omega-6s. However, these are being processed in such a harmful way. Like, they're taking baths in crude oils, and we're getting where they're adding in carcinogenics to keep it shelf stable. Why not encourage people to eat foods that are high in omega 6? And I went through and looked, and as you would probably guess, fish is a big one. So, salmon, meats high in omega 6, walnuts, eggs, sardines, sunflower seeds, almonds, chia seeds, and poultry, just to name a few. So, there's my stance on that. If you are worried about getting in those omega 6s, I would, as always, try and encourage you to get them in through the way nature has intended. What can you use instead of these? Right now, you've heard why, what the deal is on seed oils. That's just like a brief explanation, even though I know it wasn't brief. I apologize. What can you use instead of this? Because you go to the store and something like canola oil is so damn cheap compared to your olive oil or your avocado oil. I do love working with avocado oil. It has a higher smoke temp than olive oil. And I've also heard that you don't necessarily want to heat up olive oil too, or what studies are showing. So, my favorite ways to cook, my favorite cooking fats are good old fashioned butter, not margarine, butter, and then also using bacon grease or tallow. Tallow is everywhere. And then, of course, we've got our avocado oil for things. Avocado oil is a great one to use for your baking, or again, you can use olive oil. And you're not going to notice like this huge flavor jump, I think, using avocado oil. It's a pretty mild flavor. So, that is things you can, I think, switching your seed oils is something that is just as simple as deciding to cook with butter or tallow. Um, and then also just keeping an eye on those hateful eight inside of your products. And yeah, so that is my thoughts on seed oil. And hopefully you maybe learned something. And again, I'm not a professional. I hope I started off by saying that because I think if you're here, you know that. But I'm also not stupid and I can go through and put together facts based off of research and reputable sources and look at things. And also, honestly, like the science is there and it's backed, and you can obviously see things like cancer and Alzheimer's in the generations that started on this, but it is really radical what has taken place in the health in our country since these kind of things have been added. So, something that I wanted to leave you guys with in regards to helping you out was also an easy switch for us was making our own bread. And for me, it was important because when I even like you start looking at products and you're thinking, you walk around the store and like you see something that's like, it says like naked or meaning like you think immediately there's like bare minimum things there or like healthy, organic. And then you start looking at the back and there's still this big old list on the back of it. And something for me was obviously you heard, if you haven't, Nicole Martinez was on to do a sourdough recipe and she walks through all that. And through that process, you heard on there where my boys really wanted sandwich bread. They love sandwiches. They love like a peanut butter and jelly. They love just to make a good old fashioned big old ham and cheese sandwich. And through that process, I learned how simple it was to just get back to the basics of making bread. So I found a bread recipe that is an easy sandwich bread recipe that truly is so easy. It doesn't require sourdough. It is minimal ingredients. You know what's being put inside there, and it makes 2 loaves, which I love. All you need as far as like kitchen stuff goes, you don't need a fancy bread maker. You don't need a mixer. All you need is a bread pan. So I have 2 of those. I think it cost me $10 for the bread pans. Now I've had them for 6 months. We're good to go. And then what's nice about this is when you buy these ingredients, if you have to buy these ingredients, you can get a few loaves out of this. So it's honestly cheaper than going and buying a loaf of bread because what is inflation? I'm not going to walk you through the full recipe. I'm going to put it in the show notes or the description, or you can DM me on Instagram and I'm happy to send this over to you. Maybe I'll make a reel with it also. But I am going to tell you what's inside just so you can get an idea and feel like, is this something I want to take on? And there's honestly nothing like the smell of homemade bread. And then to be able to sit and slice it into your own sections was just, I don't know, there's something really beautiful about knowing I fed my family this. So here's what's required. Sorry, before I have a moment. All you need is 2 cups of water, a fourth a cup of honey or your sugar of choice, 1.5 tablespoons of active dry yeast, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, a half a cup of avocado or olive oil, 6 cups of bread flour. That's it. It's so easy to make. It just takes a little bit of mixing. There's obviously some kneading, letting it rise, did it again, let it rise, bake. Like it's the perfect way to go through and do Sunday. I know this might have been like a jam-packed episode full of information. It might feel like information overload, and I apologize. Hopefully I broke it down into categories so that it makes a little more sense. And if you've been hearing about these things, you're understanding why they're important and why it might impact you and your family. And then also, hopefully, it was digestible and like giving you an idea of where to start. Because I think sometimes we just hear like non-toxic, leave a clean lifestyle, or seed oils, or this or that, high fructose corn syrup. And it's just feeling so overwhelming. Hopefully, this gave you a little an idea and just sharing my journey on it and letting you know that it's not something that happened so quickly and was such a drastic change, but things that can slowly happen over time. Maybe make a goal to like go through your kitchen this month and go through and like, okay, now that I ran out of my laundry detergent, now I'm going to try this laundry detergent and see if that works, and things like that. I know sometimes when it comes down to looking at that, it like almost feels a little inconvenient, but I did notice with the cleaning products, you can set those up through Amazon to where it's coming. And honestly, nowadays, like, come on, it takes 2 days. Quit coming up with excuses. Cough, cough me. If you have suggestions on a non-toxic lifestyle, or if you've noticed major changes, I would love to hear that, because I think it's always so helpful to learn from one another. I do think in the non-toxic space, people are toxic, which is interesting. Like there's so much hate and just like picking on people for not doing it correctly. And that's not the place for this. That's not what we're doing. We're just trying to better our lives and those around us, and, fighting too for what is right for us. And so, yeah, hopefully this does it. I do think personally, I don't know if I say that at the beginning, I have noticed a really big difference just in switching these things. And I have noticed even too when I eat something now that has processed sugars in it, when you're more mindful and you've been off of it for a while, you can notice odd little changes. And I do notice in me personally, if I have cooked with canola oil or vegetable oil or one of those oils, how inflamed my stomach feels, and like my face too, and my joints. It's very interesting. And I'm excited to see what happens over time to be able to have more of us making these changes, and what changes are made so that maybe a non-toxic lifestyle can just be a lifestyle and we don't have to think so damn hard about it. Please don't forget to subscribe. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star rating and review. It seriously helps more than you know. If you took something away from this podcast or you enjoyed it, please take a screenshot of you listening to it or a selfie and tag us on Instagram at The Reckoning Podcast, or me at Brittney.long. We're excited to chat with you next week. Are you needing unique content creation made for your brand? Many of you might not know this, but with close to a decade's worth of experience in marketing and social media, I finally decided to set out on my own. I've helped other influencers reach over 6 figures in revenue with my business, website, and Pinterest marketing management. But I saw a gap within the outdoor community when it comes to females and families outdoors. I'm the girl that feels sexiest when outdoors covered in dirt. But I also love beauty and fashion off the mountain, sometimes on. Cleaning up like you wouldn't believe and encouraging others. There is nothing wrong with loving both. Here at Reckoning, we bring adventures and nature to others through not only photo and video, but audio as well. Entertaining and educating through stories being shared, inspiring others to either start or go on their next adventure with a new sense of confidence from the information or gear they obtained through our content. We offer a unique perspective from a him and her view, plus an outdoor family dynamic. Our content created resonates with those that find solace in the outdoors, including generational and new outdoorsmen. They are brand aware and shop at brands like Vortex, Mountain Ops, Thrive Market, Shills, Amazon, and Ulta. They have other fantastic qualities. You guys seriously are the best. They like being ambitious on and off the mountain and appreciate content like video and audio. Again, if you are wanting unique content creation or branded podcast ad reads created for your brand, learn more at thereckoningpodcast.com/media-kit. Again, if you're wanting to create that unique content creation, go to thereckoningpodcast.com/media-kit.